I'm Ian Boxill, and this is PSP Master Tales. And I'm not gonna dance.
I have to ask you about this Tupac record I have here.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, how did you become, until the end of time, part of the team?
Well, it's an interesting story. I'm glad you asked. When I went to Solar Records and doing hip hop, there was this guy named Johnny J who was doing his album at that studio, and we became great friends. And Johnny J went on to produce like over 100 Tupac songs. Most of the stuff that I recorded on that Tupac record, he produced. That's how I got hooked into that team. He was like one of my best friends. I actually met Tupac one time also at the first studio I worked at in LA, Paramount Studios. He was recording with somebody else. I didn't even know who he was recording. And at that time, I didn't even know who he was. I just had known him from rapping with Shock G and Digital Underground. So I don't think he had started his solo career at that time when I met him. So it's kind of like in the early hip hop history.
Yeah, I have to admit that I just love Breathin. And it's one of my favorite songs on this album. And I was very happy to see that you've worked on that song. Yeah. So I was wondering how it was really to work on, post-death songs, and who was, responsible for the sound in a way that, normally it's probably the artist who will say that I like this or that sound. And, since it was like few years after Tupac passed away, I was wondering who was responsible for those decisions.
I had a lot of freedom because Johnny J was in charge of that. He actually produced the original, because that's not the original music that Tupac rapped to, but he did the original song. And so when it was time to release it, I think a lot of it had leaked out. So he redid the music and I recorded it and I mixed it. And so he left a lot of it to me. He was like thumbs up or thumbs down, but mostly thumbs up. So, I mean, I was pretty much responsible for the sound of that record.
Have you recorded some instruments for that, or it was just sample based?
They were all recorded live musicians. There was no sequencing. It was a keyboard player, bass player, guitar player. And it was all produced by Johnny J. So, I mean, I kind of, I didn't have to do any production on it. And Johnny J used the SP1200, all the drum sounds, like it was this original SP1200. And the bass player was phenomenal. His name was Mims. I forgot his Cornelius Mims. Phenomenal bass player. It's really good. All live. That was Johnny's contribution to hip hop, I think. Because I think when he first did those records, it was all sampled and looped on a SP1200. When he redid the records, he hired live musicians. He was tired of giving up publishing money to all these cats. So he just replayed records. And he wasn't a computer type person that would go into Logic and record and then loop it. He would just straight to tape, 2-inch tape, and record the song from beginning to end.
It was a multi-track of Tupac, or
tape, yeah, Tupac and all the guest rappers that were on that song. I can't remember who was in that song, but it was the 2-inch with the original music, and we just I think we transferred to another 2-inch and then did overdubs on that 2-inch. Or no, if I remember correctly, I think we might have had two 2-inch machines synced up together. Music on one and the original vocals on the other one. So,
did you have any like multiple takes of Tupac performing the song, or it was only
no,
one?
I think with him, he was like a one take type of rapper. He just go in there and do like one take, maybe two takes at the most. So it was all like this one take.
And how long did it take for you to record that song?
Man, the stuff with Johnny J was like one day. It was a couple hours.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just overdubs, keyboard player, guitar player, and bass player. All pretty much, they played the whole song. There's no cutting and pasting or looping or anything like that. So it's all just straight record from beginning to end.
Do you remember any, recording techniques and mixing techniques you use on this record? I mean, like
yes.
Some specific reverb or something like that.
I remember I plugged the SP1200 into the mic pre's. It was kind of distorted, like all the drums are a little bit distorted. So that was one thing that I did that I remember. Then on those records, I believe they were mixed on a SSL. Yes, SSL on a Studer 820 tape machine, which is one of the newer ones. And I mean, the usual studio equipment in those days were like a Lexicon 480L, a TC Electronic 2290 for delays. I'm pretty sure I used that a lot. And 1176 LA2As. I believe I had a couple like Neve 1073 modules I used on that. And one of my favorites was Manly Massive Passive EQ.
It was your choice to pick up this song, or somebody asked you to do, exactly Breathin for some reason, or?
Yeah, it was the choice of the record company. They gave us a bunch of songs to do that Johnny J had produced originally. So we had a whole bunch of songs that we did with them. Probably like about 12. And they gave us a list of songs. And at that time, they had a security detail that would bring the tapes to the recording studio. Because they were afraid people were going to try to steal the masters. So they were actually armed off-duty police officers accompanying the tapes at the recording session. Those were where the sessions be on. So, and then every day at the end of the session, they would take the tapes with them. They would not leave the tapes at the studio. So.
And this is another thing, because I was wondering, I've seen many documentaries about Death Row, and that it wasn't normal, typical like a label. It was kind of like a gang stuff. So I was wondering how it was for you, and weren't you afraid a little bit that you are entering maybe not very safe, area of music? Just wondering.
Okay, well, that's an interesting question. Very good question. Because when Johnny J, I had known him before he started working with Tupac. When he was doing those sessions, I was working at this other studio called Track and Place. I was doing more R&B and pop type stuff. With Babyface had owned it. So Johnny had called me and says, "You want to come over here and work with us doing Tupac?" I was like, "No, thanks. I'm good where I'm at." That's why I never recorded Pac's vocals, just the music. I was happy where I was because I was more interested in doing that type of music where there was like musicians and chord changes and, more music instead of just doing hip hop. The first studio I worked at where I was actually recording was a lot of hip hop, and there was too much violence for me. I actually saw one guy get his skull cracked open on a Bryston 4B amp. It was not fun. It was my scene.
Look at Adam. Adam's like, what?
Yeah, well, that's crazy.
The very first session, I guess this guy was kind of tipsy, a little drunk, and he's hugging this guy who's actually Suge Knight's half brother. This guy just slapped him and he fell in front of the console. And the guy went up to him and kicked him in his head, and he hit his head on the Bryston 4B amps with they have two big handles in front, and he hit his head on the handle and it split his skull. Blood all over the place. And I was like, wow, what did I get myself into?
Yeah, but in the end, you've mixed the song. So,
In the end, I ended up working on the songs here, so I didn't miss out on it. Thank you for watching, and you can find me at ianboxill.com.
Is that how they can find you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was a fat pig and I wanted to have a Thug Life tattoo on my belly.